For weeks now, student protests at college campuses around the nation have made national news, a lot of times negative. Police have broken up pro-Palestinian encampments at universities from coast to coast, and nearly 3,000 students have been arrested. Then this weekend, headlines like these dominated the news. Duke students walk out of Jerry Seinfeld's commencement speech. Well, here's a video of that student walkout, and as you can see, it was a handful of students who walked out, leaving the vast majority of the senior class still in attendance. Here's the question. Was that the impression you got after reading all of those headlines? Probably not. And this is leading some people to question, is the media overhyping these student protests? Well, if you talk to Bill Maher, here's what he had to say. Take a look.
It's time for the media to admit that they blew the whole thing way out of proportion, because as always with media these days, they don't cover what's most important, just what's most fun to watch. There are 15.2 million college students in the U.S., and 2,300 have been arrested. That's 1/67th of 1%. We were given the false impression that these protesters are the voice of their generation, having found a cause for which they were willing to go to the tents and to the barricades. Oh, please, these kids are more violent when their team wins a championship.
There you go. So what do you all think? Are these student protests, in your opinion, being overhyped? What would you say, Jeff?
Yeah, they are, just like everything else out there.
Why do you think the media is doing that, and how should they fix it?
It's, you know, that old cliche, if it leads, it bleeds, and I don't even know if that's a cliche. I think it's true, right? Yeah, so that's what it is. And I apologize if you watch the show all the time, but I say the same percentage because I don't think it sinks in people's heads at all. 10% of the people on the internet are making 90% of the content. This is even a smaller portion, but all the headlines are reading Jerry Seinfeld, nobody likes him anymore, these people are walking out. And now you get this false misconception of who that person is. Jerry Seinfeld can't be canceled. He's going to go on with his career. Nothing's going to bother him. But if you take an ordinary person and shine that light on them, that poisons them. And people on the internet know that. They use it against them. So this small percentage that are walking out is nothing. It's a nothing burger. But that's all we do is put us against each other. Yeah. And that's what the internet does. That's what the media does. And they over-sensationalize every story. I'm done. Yeah.
I think that there's an issue that no one's really talking about, and it comes down to what's happening at the university level. I don't know if anybody else has paid attention if you are someone who gives back to your university, but I am someone who gives back to my university, and the calls have upticked. What's also upticked are the amount of alerts that you're getting on social media in real time stating police presence at university. It's very ambiguous. It comes out saying like different things people are talking about. Divest, divest, divest. If you're talking about the money, then it's not only what's happening in the media, which honestly, a lot of people are getting their media and all of their information from social media. It's also about the money, and you have to follow the money. That's what people are concerned about at this point. I understand that the media, of course, if it bleeds, it leads, all of those things, but it's not just that simple. And I don't think that's the conversation that we're having.
Right. I think these students have been given a bad rap. I'll say that. I'm not going to condone any type of anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. However, The Guardian, in a nonpartisan study, did a massive study over the past few weeks looking at all 553 U.S. campus demonstrations, the pro-Palestinian ones, and they found out that 97% of those were peaceful. So do we owe these students an apology? Because I've heard them being called lazy. First of all, that's what students are supposed to do, the ones that actually care. If you look back from the civil rights movement, if you look back from the suffrage movement, if you look back from Iraq, from Vietnam, it's the students who are saying, we're taking a stand, not in our name and not in our tax dollar. Whether you agree with them or disagree with them, that is our First Amendment right, and I support them.
Right, yes, please, Sam, support them. I support anybody using their right to free speech, and we see that, you know, even for as much as I think it's detestable, the Ku Klux Klan is allowed to get a permit and march down the street. I think the only thing that we're talking about here, we keep saying the media, like it's this like entity that we can't control. The media is us. It's all of us and what we look at. When Fox News,
but they are pitting people against each other. To Jeff's point, they've mostly been peaceful.
But why, yes, and I agree with you. And why are they doing that? Because they know their readership. Right. So if their readership is young and progressive, the headline is going to read differently than if their readership is, or their viewership is 71 to 85. It's going to be these darn kids. Can you believe these college kids? Whatever you're looking at is just a direct reflection of what you want to see. When Fox News called the election for Biden, their viewers were like, nah, dog. And their viewers started breaking off and watching those other kind of rogue right-wing networks, America One and all those. And Fox News was like, wait a second, it was all a trick to get people back. Fox News doesn't care. Either way, it's a business model. Their viewers didn't like what they were seeing, so they're like, we're going to switch what you're seeing, Erica. And they paid, what, $800 million in restitution for that. So, because that's how important it is. So when we start talking about the media, we as adults cannot talk about it like some giant living in the hillside that comes to visit us. The media is you. If you go to a site that's for young women that don't have kids, the headlines you read are going to be for you, Tori, not for me, not for Jeff. Go ahead.
Okay, very quickly. I do want to say that this comparison helped me. I love what everybody's saying. I love this discussion. But 8% of those surveyed have participated in either side of these protests during a big a poll. 46% of college students were involved in the student strikes of Vietnam. So a major difference between the two. But I do want to say this. The protests have actually gotten some stuff done. Brown University, Northwestern University are now having votes about who they are paying money to. That is what college student protests have always done with the sit-ins, as you mentioned, the suffragette movement. What bothers me now, and what I'm wondering, and I'm giving this up to the audience, I'm not sure all of the people who are protesting are actually educated on what they're protesting.
I do think they have a lot of disruptors that come in. And again, they found out that a lot of those disruptors aren't even college students.
They're outside agitators.
I know.
And they shouldn't be counted, but they're ruining it for what college students are doing.
I agree.
Mostly they're peaceful, and good for them for using their First Amendment rights. But learn and study about what you're fighting for, because I'm not sure all the college students are. So that's what I ask of.
Well, they are in college. I have a feeling some of them have read up on it.
I do too.
Yeah, some of them have been drinking and want to be trendy.
I think we have to be careful. I really do, because we really don't know. And to your point, though, we did find in this study that most of the violence came from outside disruptors. So the students have remained peaceful in their goal of divesting from institutions that are supporting the war.